So we're just going to move this fish tank. It's got some very happy looking goldfish.
Where are you guys?
Okay. When you do your walk, if there's anything you want, let me know in advance. I can ask the podium team. TVs, we've lost that. That's Max said we'll be going to a public hospital.
Need some better quality food, because the quality of your fish will be the quality of the water and the quality of the food. Fish look good, but better quality food will improve their immune system and definitely the situation. Tank looks relatively well looked after. It all looks nice and clean. It's very well filtered. Now with the fish tank, labelling all your power cords, that's a very, very good idea. It makes life simple. And then I would consider putting a heater in this tank, and then you can get bristlenose catfish, and the bristlenose catfish will help to keep it clean. You could also get things like Corydoras catfish, and then once you've watched this tank for a period of time, if you find yourself walking past it without looking at it, then what I would consider doing is either trading the fish in or putting them out in the garden pond and then changing the tank to a tropical aquarium, because I'm a big fan that change is king. So I believe you set a tank up for 1 year, you love it, 1 year you like it, and then you've seen it. So changing some decorations, changing some fish is really how to maintain your interest. Now with the goldfish, these ones are just very basic comets and shubunkins. And the good thing about comets and shubunkins is that their requirements are quite low and they are relatively hardy. Now, if you start getting into the fancy goldfish, just know that they're full of recessive genes and they do die much more easily and they are prone to a lot more problems. So staying with these guys is probably quite a decent idea.
Happy to just, I guess, I just want to add a couple more just so the little one can sort of...
Yeah, so the other thing, once you've got a heater in here, there is a whole range of fish that are fairly compatible with the goldfish. And I think if you just enjoy these fish for a couple of years, but also be aware that they will grow very quickly.
Oh, okay.
So just bear that in mind. And then...
Shubunkins are those like white...
Yes, yeah, that's a shubunkin, yep. So then as the fish grow, then you can consider moving them on and then getting some fish that are more appropriate for the aquarium, because these guys will end up outgrowing the aquarium. And there are various tropical fish that will go with these fish, providing you've got the heater. So with this last bit of water, I'm going to do a gravel clean, because we don't need to keep all of the water. We can get some of the water fresh. But this tank does look relatively well maintained, because the gravel cleaner is not too bad. It's quite common when you do this that the water that you're putting out of the gravel is like jet black. And considering this is really quite clean. So all in all, whoever's looking after this tank has been doing a pretty good job. I'm just in the process of moving this aquarium at the moment. The fish look very healthy. And all in all, the tank looks very well maintained. The filter looks good, the top filter looks good, the gravel was good, the decorations looked cared about. So it really looks like it was a well-maintained aquarium. But the thing that's quite interesting about this is that none of the staff or management know who actually looks after it. So they know they fill it up and they know they feed it. But from any available conversations, nobody has any idea who is actually servicing this aquarium. So it appears that there's some sort of mystery Santa's little helper or elf or someone that comes in here and magically looks after these fish, because at this point nobody seems to know who looks after them. Yet from what I can see, they look like they've been very well looked after. So that's an interesting issue to have. I've never come across a tank that nobody knows who looks after it. Very interesting. So when you're moving a fish tank, you really want to try to give it a good clean before the move. And particularly your gravel and your filter material, you definitely do not want to clean it in tap water. See, this situation is ideal because this gravel is full of good bacteria. So therefore, when it gets moved into the new position, all of this good bacteria should be undamaged, providing that this process is relatively swift and provided that this gravel doesn't dry out or be allowed to be stagnant for like a long period of time. So getting this gravel into the tank again without washing it with chlorinated tap water gives the tank a very good position after the move. So what we're trying to do is keep the good bacteria that was previously present, and we don't want to kill all that off when we move the tank. Otherwise it's like starting a new tank. Then we can end up with ammonia and so forth, and we can kill our fish. When you're moving the fish, you want to make sure they're in a very shallow amount of water because you want them to be able to agitate the surface, and you don't want to get a high volume to surface area ratio, so the oxygen drops in there. Otherwise having an air stone run in there would definitely help. Now the other thing to consider, particularly with these rounded glass aquarium tanks, is that whenever you move a tank like this, there's always some chance of the tank leaking or cracking, because it's really important that these tanks are leveled properly, because the amount of give in one sheet of glass is actually quite limited. So the main problem with moving these tanks is that, let's say it was slightly not level, and then you move it to another place that's slightly not level, that particularly as the tank ages, it'll have no give. And then if there's no give, a little bit of unlevelness can actually cause the tank to leak or crack. So there's always some risk in moving old aquariums, especially one like this, which they've stopped making these quite some time ago. This is not a new tank, but it has been kept in actually quite good condition. When you turn these filters on, it's really important that the filter and the inlet is full of water. You never want to turn these on dry, or you will blow it up. So I just siphoned this one into the bucket to make sure the inline was full, made sure that the other tap was open. Now that's pumping away nicely. And then it's really important that when you clean this filter, you clean it in water from the fish tank, not water from the tap. And then if there's any polyfilter or filter wool, that you just replace that. And you want to clean this every 1 to 2 months, depending on the amount of fish that you have and the quality of the food that you feed. When you're filling up an aquarium, it's really important that you're not doing water changes using tap water, because you want to put some water agent in the tap water, because what the water agent will do is take any chlorine out of the tap water. If you're only doing a little top up, it's totally fine. And Sydney does dose chlorine to a maximum minimum level, which means you can do it one day and get away with it, do it another day and you don't get away with it. But putting chlorine in the water can sterilize the good bacteria that breaks down the fish waste and can jeopardize the actual fish. So you fill up the bucket with water, add a little bit of water ager before you tip it in the aquarium, and that way you can make sure that you're not chlorine poisoning your fish. The other thing when you're doing a water change is you do want to add a little bit of KH and GH powder, and bring your sample of water to the shop every few months, and we can recommend whether you need to increase or decrease how much GH and KH you're adding per bucket. The other thing you will find about an aquarium is it's absolutely shocking how much evaporation actually occurs. So you'll find that you've got to add buckets every week to compensate for evaporation, even to the point where a lot of new people think that their tank's leaking. Also with your tank, the less your light is on, assuming you don't have live plants, the cleaner your tank will tend to stay. So have your light on when you're enjoying your fish and have the light off the rest of the time. So this aquarium has an air stone going and the bubbles are very blobby. That's totally fine for the fish, but if you find that's a little bit noisy, you can put an air stone on the end of the airline and that'll distribute the air a bit more smoothly, and you'll find that it'll be a bit quieter and it'll stop the blop, blop, blop sound. Now you feed this tank about 5 times a week, so that's not every day. I want you to feed good quality food, not crap food like that. I'd be recommending mainly probiotics from New Life Spectrum, because the probiotic from New Life Spectrum has got a bacteria in the food, which means when the fish poo, the bacteria in the poo eats the poo, and it'll keep your tank nice and clean. I'd want to be giving that filter a clean every 1 or 2 months by pulling it out, opening the big clips, taking the top off, cleaning the impeller inside, cleaning all the media in water from the fish tank, not water from the tap, replacing any filter wool or polyfilter and putting it back in. If you don't know how to do this, by all means, for the first couple of services, we could come up and do it for you and show you how. Keep the light off for a minimal amount. Keep the light on for a minimal amount of time, because that's what grows your algae. The fish do not need the light. Over time, if you do notice algae growing on the decorations, you can get them out, throw them in the sun, leave them in the sun for a day. The algae will dry up in the sun and fall off. Then flip it over, leave it for another day or so. Then hit it with a hose, and you'll be quite surprised how nicely that'll come up. Alternatively, you can put a heater in the tank, and though you've just got goldfish right now, you could add some bristlenose catfish, Corydoris, and other things that'll help with the cleaning. You've got an algae magnet here as well, that'll help clean the glass. Then up in here we've got another filter, and what happens here is the water gets sprayed down through here, and then there's some filter wool here. You want to replace that when it's really dirty. Then you've got more biomedia underneath here. Once again, the biomedia, you're only cleaning water from the fish tank, not water from the tap. So that all looks quite well serviced and good. So the water from that filter is coming out here. Inside every filter is an impeller, so every now and then you want to pull the impeller out and give it a clean. There's another one inside there. Then you've got your air pump running. Your air pump is delivering the bubbles, and if you want those bubbles to be quieter, you can put an air stone on it. And then when you do add fish to the aquarium, I would recommend that you bring a video of the tank running. In the video, we want to see everything that's going on. We also want to see any bits and pieces in your cupboard during the video, and then bring us a sample of water, and we can check how everything's going. We also recommend every few months, for no particular reason, is just bring us a sample of water in a video, just so we can check on it and check how things are going. And when you do go to add new fish to the tank, make sure you're only adding a very small amount at a time. And when you put the fish in, you want to be floating them in the top for about half an hour before you let them go, just in their bag, so the temperature can adjust. And so don't open the bag until you're about to let the fish go, because what you don't want to do is fold the bag over the tank and cut the oxygen off. And once again, it's really important to monitor your fish regularly. Feed your fish about 5 times a week. Make sure they've eaten all the food in 30 seconds. And then if you're worried about anything, the real key is to grab your phone, make a little video. Oh, they're actually trying to breed at the moment. So that behavior that you're watching, that wiggling behavior, that's actually them trying to spawn. So if you put lots of plants in this tank, then some of the eggs may lodge into the plants and may have a hope of hatching. Mind you, in a tank like this, the hungry mouths will probably just eat the babies, but these goldfish are actually trying to breed, and it is breeding season for them. So that does make sense. So you also want to know the difference between a top-up and a water change. During a water change, you want to use a gravel cleaner, and the gravel cleaner actually pulls all the crap out of the gravel, and you want to be doing that probably about once a month. Just pull a little bit of water out, several buckets. And then a top-up is just from evaporation. So when you do a top-up, you just add the water ager. When you do a water change, you do want to consider adding a little bit of GH and KH powder. So these fish look like they're settling in very well. We've just moved this tank, so it's actually quite good not to feed for the first 2 days after a move like this. Now at this point, the light doesn't seem to be working, so this is a second-hand tank, so those sorts of things do actually happen. So I can take that down to the shop and get that light working. That shouldn't really be a problem, but giving these fish a little bit of time would actually be quite nice, because they're very happy, healthy little horny goldfish. So that's breeding behavior that you're watching right now, the way they go up and shimmy next to each other. So these fish are actually currently trying to breed, and the ones that are pursuing the other one is the male and female. So the one running away That one will be the female, and the ones pursuing that keep sort of like hovering around the anal area of the female will be the males. So this is like a goldfish gangbang. It looks like there's about 4 males and 1 female from what I'm seeing. Anyway, they look very happy.